And we're back with another authentic Medcast where the topics get heavy and the ethics behind it becomes all the more complex. I'm 30.
And I'm Claire, and today we'll unchain the conversation about human trafficking and unlock on some real change as we delve into the dark side of our country's hidden underworld. Now, let me ask you, 30, what do you know about human trafficking in the Philippines?
I mean, as you know, Claire, our country is one that houses the largest migrant population in the world, so I'm not surprised that it becomes a huge source of both sex and labor trafficking across the entire globe.
Good point. I can still remember this being in the news, and these cases are very upsetting to see. So they're actually very sad, and they happen on a daily basis.
That's true, and it is an issue of power play and the result of poverty, lack of education, and even insufficient law enforcement. Dare I say it's a cocktail that nobody ordered but continues to be served.
Now, to everyone tuning in, please feel free to share your thoughts on the matter, and do know we have a hotline that is available for you to join in the conversation. And back to the issue at hand, I actually do want to have some audience participation because I want to know the profiles of our victims. Are we aware of these profiles based on gender, age bracket, and whatnot? No?
And it looks like we have one. It's Boss Mark Josh Cabahog Perez.
So, hello everyone, I'm Mark, and I have some insights on human trafficking. So, the majority of trafficked victims are female. They are often trafficked for sexual exploitation, forced labor, and domestic servitude. Males are also trafficked primarily for forced labor, including work in construction, agriculture, and fishing industries. A significant number of trafficked victims are minors, often exploited for sex trafficking, child labor, and forced begging. Young women and men, typically aged 18 to 30 years old, are also common victims, trafficked for both sexual exploitation and forced labor.
Thank you, Boss Mark. Oh, we have one who wants to join the call. Can you take a minute, Claire? It's Boss Capitan Jake.
Hi, I'm Jake, and I have to add some insights on that about human trafficking. So most of these victims come from rural and impoverished regions now where economic opportunities are limited. Some victims may also recruited from the urban areas, particularly those experiencing poverty and unemployment. And then for the most common destination countries for these victims, they are trafficked from Philippines are often sent to countries in Middle East, such as in Saudi Arabia, UAE, and Kuwait. And for Asia, we have also from they're sent to Malaysia, Hong Kong, and or Singapore, and even some Western countries. And within the Philippines, we have domestic trafficking. Victims are trafficked from rural to urban areas, such as in the Metro Manila, Cebu, and Davao, being the common destinations for sexual exploitation and forced labor.
Wow, thank you for that, Jake. Looks like they've done their research already. And it's crazy to think that this issue isn't just about numbers, it's actually about people. Just imagine a village girl offered a big dream, no, in the big city as well. And not only to find herself trapped in a very big nightmare. So it makes you think about the people behind it and what their motives are. Now, so speaking of people behind the scenes, let's bring in a special guest who can give us information about these syndicates. So joining us is Mr. Villafuerte. Hi, and thank you for tuning in with us, Jericho.
Boss Jericho.
Hi.
So, can you shed some light on the subject at hand and can give us an insight into the profile of the common types of offenders and why is there such limited information about them to the public?
See, that's a very interesting topic. No? So there's actually a lot of different organizations and individuals that are behind these crimes. So first, you have the organized crime syndicates, which are usually the large, well-resourced networks that operate both locally and internationally. And they work hand-in-hand with small-scale traffickers, which are individuals that operate locally. And part of these small-scale traffickers include recruiters, who are people who lure victims, typically locals, who exploit the trust of the community by using false job offers to entrap victims. And complicit as well are corrupt government officials that aid traffickers. So these people provide false documentation or overlook illegal activities, so these criminal organizations can operate. Now, information on these offenders is very limited because they're very clandestine. So these traffickers operate very secretly, which make it very difficult to gather evidence. And the victims themselves are often reluctant to testify as well, out of fear of retaliation from the offenders. And they're also victims of trauma as well, which can hinder their ability to communicate effectively. Then there's also corruption and collusion from the government officials and the law enforcement agencies themselves. And these agencies as well are typically lack funding and human resources for law enforcement. And there's also legal and systemic barriers. Since these international organizations operate across borders, it's very difficult for law enforcement agencies around the world to come together to make a collaborative effort against these organizations. So that's just some of the reasons out there.
What interesting discoveries. Apparently, if there is a will, there truly is a way to create such heart-wrenching realities. Now, Mr. Villafuerte, do you think that there has been changes in the current state of human trafficking in the Philippines?
Well, yeah, absolutely. With increased community awareness, more victims are now coming forward thanks to improved support systems. We do, however, need to have continued efforts aimed at educating the public regarding these matters, as well as build stronger international relationships with anti-trafficking organizations.
Yes, Jared, that's very true, and I believe everyone can play a part as long as they too are able to understand the gravity of the situation and spread awareness about the forms of human trafficking and how to seek help. So thank you for your valuable time, Sir Boss Jericho.
Okay, so it looks like we have an additional caller. So hello, sir. What is your name and where are you from?
Hello, I'm JC and I'm from Manila.
Oh, cool. How's the weather? It's probably bad. Thanks for tuning in with us on today's episode.
Yeah, I feel like this has been an underrated topic that needs due recognition and awareness by the public. I just would like to share my field of expertise and discuss the recruitment practices and modes of trafficking employed in the Philippines.
So do tell us.
Okay, so the recruitment of the practices and modes of trafficking employed in the Philippines, they use the illicit practices such as recruitment by malified recruitment agencies, abduction or kidnapping, and leaving the country through the southern backdoor with no legitimate documentation. Government experts in the Philippines have identified several methods and strategies which facilitate exit from the Philippines and entry into the destination countries. Illegal recruitment, promise of non-existing job or job differing from those promised. Airport escorting scheme, where airports personnel escort individuals without proper documentation through immigration checkpoints. Pre-arranged passage. Immigration officials ignore fraudulent documents or lack of proper documentations and allow persons to pass through immigration checkpoints. Also have transit travel, nationality switch or conversion, whereby individuals switch nationalities to one for which a visa is not required for the destination country. We also have photo substitution and lookalike, which is a password tampering. Matchmaking for marriage. A spouse visa provides an individual with the possibility to remain legally for often an undisclosed period of time in the destination country. Adoption, foreign training or internships, such as religious pilgrimages or movements, family tours where individuals pose as family members to secure visas, and also last, the cultural exchange or promotion.
Wow, that's a lot that's happening under our noses. There's a lot to digest as well, am I right?
It just
So-
floods you.
I know. It makes a lot. No, that there's a lot of things to digest and a lot of things that are happening under our nose. It really makes you think about what is happening under our noses, as well as it challenges our assumptions about it. So to our listeners this afternoon, I also want to hear your thoughts so far about the matter, and has it changed your perspective? I think I see a caller. Yes, hello, Isa?
Hi Claire, hi 30. So I'd like to share my 2 cents about today's episode. So when I first thought about it, I associated human trafficking mostly with persons traveling illegally across borders, not only to engage in forced labor but also in sexual exploitation. But today's Medcast episode really opened my eyes to a much more complex reality. So I never even considered, for example, how environmental disasters could make people very vulnerable to traffickers. So when families lose their homes and sources of income, they become very easy targets for traffickers, promising them false jobs and even security. So this link between climate change and human trafficking was really something I had not thought about before.
Yes, I've also heard from other podcasts, and they do have first accounts of survivors. It helps us understand that trafficking isn't just about physical force. It also involves psychological manipulation as well. So the way traffickers would control and exploit their victims is far more insidious and more complex than I have realized.
I know, Claire, it's really amazing. So, after hearing all of our speakers and talkers, my head feels like Manila. It's flooded with information. So, alright, folks, that's a wrap for today's episode on Breaking Chains on human trafficking. Remember, the fight against human trafficking is deadly serious and is something we should take a proactive role in ensuring everyone's awareness and understanding.
Yes, indeed. So to all our listeners out there, let us take the leap and pledge ourselves into becoming proactive members of society. So please educate yourself and take note that awareness is the first step towards change. Support all organizations that are working on the ground and know that small things can surely guarantee a very big impact moving forward.
And if you support human trafficking, please stop. And if you suspect it, do report and contact DSWD or the NBI so that you can be a hero that someone desperately needs. Again, this is 30 Termadal.
And this is Claire Peñalosa. Thank you for tuning in and continue to stay informed, stay involved, and always stay anti-trafficking free. Until next time, Authentic Medicast signing off.